Hi, welcome to Bad Music Taste and Other Ways to Ruin Your Life. My name is Dominic.
My name is Sam. Dominic has a record this week.
This week's record is Confession by The Last. This record was first released in 1988, and the copy I have here is a first pressing on black vinyl. Anyways, today we're talking to author Jim Ruland. How's it going, Jim?
Good. How are you guys?
It's going great. We're in Baltimore. We just got vaccinated yesterday, so that's awesome.
That's great news. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Um,
Was it an emotional event for you guys?
Personally, it was exciting that I could be, but as far as like the actual vaccination itself, I'm okay as long as I don't look at the needle. So
Yeah. For me, it's like when they rub the uh like the alcohol on or whatever. Smelling that is like like gives me anxiety because then like right after that, like once you smell the alcohol for me, you know that they're gonna stab you with the needle. So that's what
Uh,
always gets it for
I
me.
used to joke around with the nurses and nurses' aides that I'm afraid of needles because I'm like have lots of tattoos. But it turns out there are a lot of heavily tattooed people that are afraid of injections and getting their blood drawn. And so I don't make that joke anymore.
Yeah, because I mean, like when you get tattooed, they're not really like the needle doesn't really go through your skin, or does it? I don't know. I've never been tattooed.
I was going to say, are you speaking from personal experience?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Every tattoo is a wound, Dominic.
Oh.
You bleed. It's pain.
But you're mostly known for your autobiographies, like with Keith Morris and Bad Religion. Is there a process when writing these books, or does the writing differ each time?
It's really different each time. That's a great question because I've written a number of books and everything about them are different from every aspect, from how they come together to the writing, the execution, and even the rollout. So, for example, the last one I did was that had published was "Do What You Want." We'll plug here with Bad Religion, and we had you got it, great. We had all kinds of events that we were planning on planning, if that's a way to say that. But the pandemic got in the way. So, of course, there were no live signings, there were no shows, there were none of those fun things that we were hoping to get to do to celebrate Bad Religion's 40th anniversary.
Yeah. When the pandemic first started, and I saw that they were like nobody was really like I guess taking it seriously, and then Bad Religion was like, we're canceling all our shows for this year, and that was like a real like eye opener, like because we were gonna go see him, where me and my family we were gonna go see him in Silver Spring, Maryland, and then they canceled everything. We were like, oh, right.
And that
That
was
was
not a popular thing to do because and I'm not saying that they were the first band to do that, but a lot of shows were being postponed or wait and see. But what that does is it ties up the money that the fans spend. So when Bad Religion cancel, that means the money goes right back to the fans. It also leaves their pocket. So it was not an easy decision to make, but it was the right thing to do. And you guys being fans of Bad Religion know that Bad Religion is usually on the right side of history.
Yeah, because I was gonna say I feel like with all the shows that were getting postponed, and then even some of the postponed dates also got canceled. I feel like it was too early at that point to postpone things because people didn't know when there would be like a clear shot to having live music again. So I think like some of the bands that didn't just say, okay, we're just gonna cancel it, I feel like it was like a little bit of a premature decision, you know?
Yeah, and also our mutual friend Keith Morris was also someone who was pretty early on saying, "Look, we can't go out there and put our fans at risk, especially since they're an older band and they have to consider their own safety as well." And it was funny because I don't know if you've ever listened to any of Keith's podcasts, but he'll talk to you about conspiracy theories and chemtrails and things like that until you fall over. But he was, very serious about, an understanding about the pandemic and its impact on the planet and the music industry than I think maybe a lot of people. But I'm not an expert.
Yeah, because I read the thing about Bad Religion when I was on my way to school. I was like, well, if I can go to school, then it's okay. And then I couldn't go to school, so it was like, oh, this is serious now. And
Yeah, I remember I was the last trip I took before the pandemic. I was doing a profile of a writer for the LA Times, and it was actually someone who I knew and who I'd met at a writers conference like 10 years before. So that kind of thing is always kind of fun when you get to catch up with somebody again. And we were on my way up to the interview. Like I went to Razor Cake headquarters and saw my friends there, and I saw some friends in San Luis Obispo, and I finally made it up to Northern California, and it kept getting worse and worse. And by the time I got there, we were talking, like the photographer was coming from San Francisco, and we were like, it was like a horror movie. It's like, do we let him in? And it's like, it's how bad are things going to get? Like, because the basketball season had just been canceled, and we didn't know what was going on. It was a little scary.
yeah, because we were like that Friday getting all these updates about like everything happening. It was like, oh, basketball was just canceled. And then like I think at like the very end of the day on that Thursday, my ELA teacher was like, yeah, so we're not gonna be doing this for much longer.
Yeah.
That was surreal when the ELA teacher finally said something about it, because everybody was kind of like pretending that it wasn't happening, like before it was actually like everybody said it was a pandemic. Everybody was pretending like it wasn't a thing. And my ELA teacher was like the only person that was like, yeah, so this might not be happening much longer, talking about school. And there was one kid that last day wearing a face mask, and teachers like suspended him.
Really?
Well, they were like, you're being obnoxious wearing that mask, thinking that he was like trying to make fun of it.
Yeah, I think it was a strange sight to see, that teachers were like so against it, and now it's like you can't be in the building without one. And obviously it makes sense that you can't be, but just seeing how like that year of time made such a difference in like our tolerance to things, because I mean, it was just, in our eyes, obviously it was just somebody protecting themselves, but at that time you're like, what's a mask? Like, why does that protect you? You didn't necessarily understand the science behind why like the mask was so important until like weeks into it. So I think school itself is a really unique conversation with like as far as how the pandemic's altered that.
Yeah, it was the uncertainty was one of the worst things, I think, for a lot of people. It was like, did you guys watch the show on HBO, Chernobyl?
No.
I've seen like an episode or two.
Yeah, it was like a little mini series about all the wrong things they did and all the loss of life that could have been avoided. And I remember seeing that shortly before the pandemic and wondering, like, how many mistakes are we doing the same thing and not realizing it, or what?
Yeah, I know there was a special on Netflix. It was literally just called Pandemic. And it like blew up as soon as the quarantine had really begun, just because, people were at home and whatever. And I watched it and I was like, this is weird. Because they were like predicting things for like this year, and like everything they were saying was like so accurate to what was happening at the time. So it was like, that's strange. Like,
yeah, and then you watch interviews with Anthony Fauci from like 2005, where he's like, "Oh, we're way overdue for a pandemic." Like that's like,
He's right.
it's crazy.
So Dominic, can I ask you a question? Is that a Beach Rats shirt that you're wearing?
It is.
Wow, you've got like the whole Brian Baker fit going today.
Brian Baker is one of the 3 people to say no to being on the podcast.
Well, he's a very busy man
Yeah.
and a very talented one. Getting to watch him play guitar up close and personal was definitely one of the highlights of working on that book. It wasn't one I was expecting. I was just kind of talking with Brett in the studio one day, and when Brian sat down right next to me and started playing some things that Brett asked him to play, and I was just like, wow. It's like watching Pele, score a goal or something, It's amazing.
Yeah, that was like that was like in the first few months that we had started the podcast when we asked him. So we didn't have as many interviews under our belt. So
yeah. Are you both from Baltimore?
yes.
Yeah.
Did you know that I grew up in Falls Church, Virginia?
No. Oh, that's awesome.
No.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I got the hell away.
But we live like somewhat close to New York, so they're in like DC, so in Philly, so there's a bunch of good shows there.
Yeah, those are usually the people, like the places that people hit the most. And then you look at like a tour list and you're like, Baltimore? Okay. Because of how rare it is. So when you finally see that, it's always nice.
Yeah,
I remember growing up in Virginia, there was, we were listening to classic rock radio station, and there were always ads for Hammerjacks, for metal shows at Hammerjacks. And I was always wondered what Hammerjacks was like.
I've never been myself, but I can say I've heard a lot of stories from my mom going there. And they're always, it seems like it was a pretty fun spot. I'll say that much. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'll have to hear more from her.
Yeah, like you hear that a band has an East Coast tour plan, and it's like, guess we're going to DC. I guess we're going to Philly. But when a band does finally go to Baltimore, it's very refreshing, I guess. It's, like Less Than Jake. Oh, the last show that I saw before the pandemic was Real Big Fish. And they had like a whole like US tour planned, I believe. So that was cool.
Well, that's good that you're going through your ska phase now so you can get it over with. Just kidding.
No, but I was like, that was the last band? If I knew that was the last band before everything, that wouldn't have been the last band.
Oh, it's crazy. Like, just, I don't know. I've always thought it would be so weird if, like, a month before everything shut down, they'd be like, okay, so you only have a month. Like, I'm like,
yeah.
Done. Like, like, if you knew, it's like, how would you have used that time? I don't know. I just feel like, for me, March is always one of the slowest months because it's, like, just getting out of that, like, winter-esque, and it's, like, moving into the warmer weather and kind of getting into that, like, mindset, I guess. So always having to have everything shut down right then was kind of crazy. And it was also like literally a week before my mom's birthday. So we were like, happy birthday? Like there was nothing we could really do. So it was very weird.
It's your birthday?
Yeah, it was like.
Yeah, people with March birthdays got screwed because they had like 2 pandemic birthdays.
Yeah, because people, I mean, as far as the summer, vaccinations are looking out, but yeah, I don't know. I'm still definitely going to wear my mask for a little bit longer, at least.
Yeah. Although the CDC just said like fully vaccinated people don't have to wear masks, but the thing is like when you get the vaccine, like a big sign doesn't pop above your head that says like I'm half vaccinated. So and they said like they're not going to be checking for like people who are vaccinated. So I thought that was kind of a stupid move, but who am I to say what's a stupid move?
Yeah. Right. It's hard to know.
You have a new book out, or you have a new book coming out next year called Corporate Rock Sucks: The Rise and Fall of SST Records. So how's everything coming together, and is Greg Ginn involved, or are you already planning on getting sued?
Oh, wow. Dominic with a hard-hitting question right off the bat. No, I was actually, Greg is not participating, and I was surprised when he responded to my request, and he said that he had retired from interviews 10 years ago,
Oh, wow.
which is not surprising because what I had already heard just from talking to a lot of people, former SST artists, was that they had tried to make contact with Greg and were not able to. So I was surprised that I did get a response, but you know, the saga of SST Records is long and strange. So there are plenty of people that I did talk to, and not just musicians, but also producers and people that promoted shows and people that directed videos and people that worked at the company. It's the whole spectrum of people. So it was a pretty fulfilling experience in terms of rounding out the story.
Yeah, SST has always been one of my favorite labels. Like, you can't put out the Descendants and then like be a bad label.
Can you? I guess we'll have to find out. But no, I did talk to Bill Stevenson and for the book, and we touched on some things. But it's like when you're an artist and you create something and then you don't get compensated for that, it can create some very complicated feelings and very powerful feelings. So I explore all that in the book.
Okay, well, I can't wait to read it. I have the the Keith one and the Bad Religion one, so I'm excited to read that one. The Keith Morris one got me through detention in 7th grade.
Really?
So thank you for that.
Very welcome. I haven't gotten any letters from inmates or former felons, so that'll be, you're it, Dominic.
Well, thank you so much for your time. This was a lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, and look forward to checking out more episodes of the show.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye now.